and happy Cinco de Mayo wherever you are. I'm Ed Habashar. It is Tuesday, May 5. Another edition of Seahawk Talk on its way. I'm going to bring you our lineup of guests in a graphic on the screen and show it to you right here. Hello. We've got Matt Finlayson from the class of 2008, Colin Barnett. He's an assistant coach with our men's lacrosse program. From our women's tennis program, a group of seniors, all captains, Shaylin Fitzpatrick, Priscilla Gaspard, Lily Gorman. And the same from our women's track and field program, all seniors and captains, Olivia Owen, Katie Simonello, and Madison Stanley. As I mentioned from the outset, we're scheduled to have Matt Finlayson as our leadoff guest, and he is an avid golfer. And from the class of 2008, he was also fortunate to be on hand when the Dalai Lama graced our campus.
I jump ship in Hong Kong, and I make my way over to Tibet. And I get on as a looper at a course over there in Himalayas.
A looper?
A looper. You know, a caddy, a looper. Jack. So I tell them I'm a pro Jack. And who do you think they give me? The Dalai Lama himself. The 12th son of the Lama. The flowing robes, the grace, bald. Striking. So I'm on the first tee with him. I give him the driver. He hauls off and whacks one. Big hitter, the Lama. Long. Into a 10,000-foot crevice right at the base of this glacier. Do you know what the Lama says?
No.
Gunga Galunga. Gunga Gunga La Gunga. So we finish 18, and he's gonna stiff me. And I say, hey, Lama, hey, how about a little something, for the effort, And he says, there won't be any money. But when you die, on your deathbed, you will receive total consciousness. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
He's got that going for him, that's right. And unfortunately, Matt couldn't be with us at the 3 o'clock segment today. I am going to play a recorded interview with him just over a month ago. Actually, less than a month ago, because it was April 6th. It was a Tuesday in this same 3 o'clock segment in Seahawk Talk. And here it is. Let's go right now to the home of Matt Finlayson. He is a member of the class of 2008. And actually, before we even go to him, I'm going to introduce him as one of our previous awardees for the Distinguished Senior Scholar Athlete Award. Finlayson won the highest grade point average while participating in 4 years in varsity athletics. He was also honored with the Christopher Kiernan Scholar Athlete Award for academic excellence, and you can see the list of awardees on the screen. Last year, Kendall Wilcox and Colton Arenian. And let's go back to 2008, where joining Christina Lee was also our male recipient, Matt Finlayson. Hello, Finny. How are you?
2008 was a pretty long time ago, Ed. Quite an honor, though.
I'm doing my math, and it's just a dozen years ago. Good to have you on the show. How are you doing?
That's pretty easy math when it's 2020. What a year it's been.
I know. Well, we got to have you return to the Seahawk Athletic Department just 2 years ago, 2018. Your hiring by Jody Moradian as an assistant athletic director brings you into the environment of athletics from your former post as president and owner of the Ocean State Waves. Talk about that transition.
Yeah, well, Jody and I started a relationship where we were getting coffee every couple weeks and just talking about athletics. It's someone I wanted to learn from with their experience, UCLA, Boston College, Northeastern, ACC football. And a job opportunity opened up, and it was always my career goal to get back on a college campus and work in administration and ultimately be an AD someday. So I hopped right on it, and it's been such a great experience. Salve's always felt like a second home to me, and I love my job. I love what I do. It's completely different right now. I really miss our students and our coaches and seeing everyone around Rogers Recreation every day, and all the support groups around campus. It's just a different time that we're operating in, but I think Salve is doing a great job of making the most of it. And it's SAC has been wonderful, connecting with the kids and the virtual world of WebEx and trying to do what we can to stay positive.
And Matt, you come at it with the perspective of not only a former student, but a student athlete. And you've been able to share those experiences with your SAC e-board and the SAC membership. And as well as it's Professor Finlayson as well, because you're involved in some of the classes. Talk about that experience for you, not only on the student side, what you remember as a student, but also how you're approaching it as a professor, understanding the situation that they're in.
Yeah, so this is probably my 10th semester of adjunct work. I have 5 credits that I'm teaching right now, one of which is a 3-credit sport management intro class, and then 2 workshops. It's different, but the kids are adapting really well, and Salve's done a wonderful job of providing adjunct professors with the tools that we need in order to make sure that our students are earning their credits and continuing their education the way they should. No one expected this, but department chairs and Salve's leadership team and IT has done a really nice job. It's different for the kids. Definitely have to utilize the mute button quite a bit, but we're making the most of it. It's a different perspective of learning outside of the classroom. I think that's what I enjoy most as an adjunct professor, especially as an alum, is connecting with current Salve students that hopefully collectively we can help continue their success once they leave Salve. So I missed that part, but I have had a lot of students reach out through email and asking questions. It's just all electronic or virtual now, so you don't have that face-to-face interaction, which I really miss, and I know it's hard on some of the students, but everyone's being positive, and we're trying to ensure that their academic work at Salve continues without a hitch.
And Matt, your work at Salve also includes game management and marketing at events. Talk about how different you perceive that will be going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we have some games at football where it's 2,500 people in a pretty close environment. I think some things that will change might be, cleanliness or hygiene, like having hand sanitizer at the front, having hand wipes in the bathrooms, and making sure that we're giving spectators, fans, student athletes, referees, ways to keep the best, methods of not getting sick moving forward. But it's all small scale compared to, major professional events or a college football game at Michigan with 110,000 people in a confined space. I mean, who really knows? But I think what you can do is provide a mechanism where there's ways to do the most that you can. So I think you'll see a lot more focus on providing, hand soap and just keeping everything really, really clean and not trying to spread any sort of germs or virus or anything like that.
If you can find it on the shelves.
Can't right now. No. Amazon, you're not getting it till July.
SAC is an important part of the student athlete experience as well, because members of each team get to represent not only their teams, but the whole student athlete experience as well. Talk about your involvement with SAC and what programming they do and you see going forward for them.
Yeah, SAC is a big part of my job. I'm the SAC advisor, and I have been for the last year and a half or so. SAC really represents the university in such a positive fashion, where the community work they do, keeping all the athletes connected. SAC has done things like environmental cleanups, partnering with the MLK Center for toy drives or food drives. Right now we're trying to put together a virtual message or video that's positive and talks about what it means to always be a Seahawk and carrying Salve's vision and values, and what can we do in this time, and we're going to try to connect it to a local nonprofit that helps families that are having a tough time with utilities or food, and even local businesses. I was a small business owner before this, and I can't imagine what that's like right now. It's a really difficult time, and I was operating a sport franchise where a huge percentage of our income came from partnerships, sponsorships, and advertising. So with a majority of that being small businesses. So I can't see a small business spending a lot on advertising when they're just trying to keep their own staff supported as much as they can. We do have a wonderful Newport community, and I think that it's strong, and what I've been seeing is a lot of local restaurants and businesses changing up their model a little bit with delivery, takeout. Where I live in South County, a restaurant like Matunic Oyster Bar is offering delivery. So it is different times that we're living in, but I think that communities should support local businesses because local businesses support the community.
100%. I'm hearing Major League Baseball talking about coming back and starting play as early as May in Arizona only. The ballparks would be empty except for the players and the personnel involved in getting a game underway. Could that happen, do you believe?
I really don't know. I think that COVID-19 changes so much every day that it's really tough for a professional sport franchise or league to determine a date and say, by this date, we're doing this in confined spaces. But we don't know. Ventilators are a huge issue right now. We have no idea what COVID is doing state to state. Every state's operating differently. How is this going to play out by May 4th or whatever? I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but even doctors and scientists will admit that they don't know. So I think that's really tough to predict how professional sports are going to progress. I just saw that the U.S. Senior Open in Newport is canceled. And that was an event that was supposed to have huge economic impact. And I think that's the trickle-down effect you're going to see is the hallmark events and the low-level professional sporting events and even things held at the Tennis Hall of Fame help support local restaurants, hotels. I mean, we just, in Newport, added 3 or 4 hotels. So it's changing times. I would love to see a baseball game on TV, but is it definitely going to happen? I think that's tough to say. And it's really odd. So I don't know how professional sports are going to play out. It's the same in Europe with a lot of events. They started with no fans playing in games with La Liga or EPL, and that's changed too. So we'll see how things play out, but I think it's impossible to predict with this COVID-19 pandemic changing so much day to day, week to week.
Well, Matt, may the 4th be with you, and you will be with us once again on May 5 as your recurring role in Seahawk Talk. Really appreciate you coming on and joining us today and give us some insight into how you see this pandemic evolving.
Yeah, and thank you, Ed, for keeping all of the Seahawk alumni, students, and the feedback that I've received with Seahawk Talk. I love the logo too. Has been wonderful, so it's greatly appreciated by your colleagues and former student athletes that you used to know when they were scoring goals or hitting doubles or whatever. So appreciate everything you do for Salve. Thank you.
You're looking good. Keep it up. We'll see you in meetings going forward. Have a great day, Matt.
Take care, Ed. Thanks a lot.
That's Matt Finlayson joining us 4 weeks ago on Tuesday, April 7, his first appearance on Seahawk Talk. We did hear that he was Professor Finlayson as well. One of those classes he teaches is a golf class, and his students were challenged to submit a trick shot. His some of those samples, including Professor Finlayson.
Let's go.
I don't know.
Let's go!
The winner of that first-time event, and it could become an annual tradition for the Seahawks, was Matthew Sorty, class of 2020. Congratulations, Matthew, and great job, Matt Finlayson. We hope to catch up with Matt Finlayson live in a matter of days. We'll be joining live Colin Barnett from our men's lacrosse program after a short break. Stay with us.
Cameron loves me.
Welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm Ed Habershaw. Just played a pre-recorded segment with Matt Finlayson, which was pre-recorded back to its original airing on April 7. We are going to go live right now to Newport, Rhode Island, and join up with our men's lacrosse assistant coach, Colin Barnett. Hello, Coach. How are you?
Hey, Ed. How you doing? Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Good to have you on the show. I like how head coach Patrick Cooney has worked with these segments every Tuesday at 3:15. He's joined us live a couple of times, and then he's had Dan Parks on. He's had Coach Bernasconi on. He's three captains last week, and now we get to be graced by Colin Barnett. So I'm going to behave like Kramer from Seinfeld. I don't know if you watched the series in the early to late 90s. One of my favorite shows ever. I even have a fantasy baseball league called Giddy Up, which is a Seinfeld theme league. But Kramer in that show actually bought the set for the Merv Griffin show, and he hosted the Merv Griffin show somewhere in his apartment. And tell me a little bit about yourself, Coach Barnett.
I love it. I love the Seinfeld reference. I actually lived in New York City for 8 years of my life, and Seinfeld would come to the Beacon Theater, which is right down the street from me. So very familiar with some of his shows. So great reference there. Little bit about myself. Again, thanks so much for having me. I moved to Newport 2 years ago with my wife. I have a young daughter who's 2 and a 3-month-old son. So we love it here. Originally born in Cheshire, Connecticut, went to college at Keene State. Lived in New York City for 8 years, and my wife and I got married in Newport, 4 years ago, and said, hey, why not come here? It's the best place in the Northeast, in my opinion, and now we're living the dream.
And as we spoke earlier, I let you know you had told me that you had gone to Keene State College or Keene State University, and you were an owl. But I let you know that you weren't the first owl to be a coach on the Seahawk staff, because Jane Walsh, who came after you or while you were at Keene State, was also an owl. What led you to decide to become an owl way back when?
Yeah, so, it was, during my time at Cheshire, I looked at a lot of different schools, a lot in this area, between the Endicotts, the Winnocks, and the Salves. And to be honest with you, I think my high school coach had a pretty good relationship with the college coach at Keene. I went up for one visit there and decided, to make the plunge. So it was as simple as that, but I did look at a lot of these other schools in this area. I wish my academics were a little bit better. I would have been a Seahawk. So
you were a 2-time All-Stater at Cheshire in Connecticut.
Yeah, so played in Cheshire, Connecticut, and did pretty well there for my junior and senior year, and under a great coach there, Rich Luciano, who retired last year. But from Connecticut. My parents still live there today, so I go back there quite a bit.
So Colin, this isn't your first coaching gig. Tell us how you've been involved with the sport since graduating college.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've always done the camps throughout college and a little bit when I graduated. And during my time in New York, I helped out with a Xavier Lacrosse, which was in Brooklyn, which was a high school that was just starting up the lacrosse program. They've been now up and running for the last 7 years. I actually got an email from the coach a couple of weeks ago saying, hey, we need you to come back and you helped start this program, and now we're competing for championships. So it's pretty cool to see. I've been in kind of the lacrosse world since I graduated, always looking to help out. I guess the competition, is kind of always in you. And if I can't play, you might as well coach.
And having been recruited by the likes of Salve Regina and others in the Commonwealth Coast Conference, and then you relocate to Newport, you connect with Coach Cooney and you say, hey, Coach, I'd love to become a part of your program. How did that transpire?
Yeah, so, the one, I like a lot of things about Coach Cooney, but, one that, I think is a good attribute to himself is he's always open to bringing in new people and listening. I think he does a really good job of that and seeing things from a lot of different point of views. I reached out to him. I told him I'm moving to Newport. I'd love to help out with the team. He brought me into his office and said, hey, let's give it a go. And, we've become really good friends. I love the staff. Coach is about winning. He's about caring about his players and academics, and he's taught me a lot. At the end of the day, I think I've made a really good friend with Coach Cooney, we both want to see this program win and take it to the next level. So it's been a good fit thus far.
Colin, the team is graduating 6 seniors from this squad. They've had a good career, 5 of them 4 years, and Griffin Ketchum 3 years because he's graduating early. What's been your experience with this group from the class of 2020?
Yeah, this is a special group, and I think what this group has done a tremendous job of is coming together as a team. The one thing I take away, and it goes back to my college days, is if you're a senior and there's new freshmen on the team, bring them in. You're all one team, you're all one family. I think this team did a tremendous job of doing it. The camaraderie of this team has been the best I've seen since I've been at Salve. And they really set the tone for years to come. They're going to be missed for sure, but they set a really, really good foundation up to this point for us to feed off of, and they'll be a big reason why we're successful moving forward. So we're definitely going to miss these guys for sure.
Last week we had on your 3 captains, Robson, Leary, and Sheehan, and we got to showcase some of the goal scoring by the team, which included a game-winning goal by Pat Leary off a feed from, Ethan Robson had handled the ball during the beginning of the play. That was the game-winning goal against St. Joseph's, the last game that the Seahawks played. What was the takeaway from that? Perhaps not knowing that it was going to be the final game of the season, but how have you guys started to prepare for 2021 at the same time?
Yeah, and those 3 captains are tremendous. From Robo to Sherm to Leary, they're great leaders, and I have a lot of respect for those guys. I think the one thing we've been telling our team is this is an opportunity, right? And I think there's a lot of people in the same boat. Whether you're in the working world or if you don't have a job right now and you're trying to support a family, there's a lot of ways to look at this in a negative sense. But for right now, we have an opportunity. We will be back. And to really make most of this opportunity, to come back as a better team, to come back closer, to come back better lacrosse players, to come back better people, and know that, no day is guaranteed, so make the most of it. And I think this group has embraced it. They will continue to embrace it. We got a great bunch of guys that are ready to compete coming into next year. There's no doubt about it.
And how soon will your 2-year-old and your 3-month-old have a lacrosse stick in their hands, if not already?
Yeah, you know what? My daughter took one of the sticks out of the shed the other day, and she was playing with it. So, my son, he's a little young, but hey, as soon as they can, I am going to try to get that going. So, I'll try to do my best not to force it too much, but they better have a lacrosse stick in their hands sooner rather than later.
Well, Colin, congratulations to you and your wife on the growing family, and we're happy to have you in Newport.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the time today. I look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Take care.
All right, have a great day.
That's Carlin Barnett from our men's lacrosse program, one of Coach Cooney's assistant coaches. I'm Ed Habishar, and rather than transition to a break on Seahawk Talk, let us do this. Let me go right into an interview that I recorded with the 3 Seahawks seniors from our women's tennis team. They are Shaylin Fitzpatrick, Priscilla Gaspard, and Lily Gorman. And we're going to go right to them right now. Well, welcome, Shaylin, Lily, and Priscilla. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you? Good. How are you?
We're coming from your respective hometowns, South Windsor, South Yarmouth, and Brockton. Good to have you on Seahawk Talk.
Thank you. Yeah.
Seniors on our women's tennis team, 4-year players as well. If you can, tell me what it was like being a freshman for Salve Regina Tennis.
I guess I'll start. It was a really good time because it was a new coach. So over the summer, we did not know who our coach was going to be. So it was a little nerve-wracking because we did not know what to expect. But on the team itself, it was really great because we had great captains, Emma and I forgot her name.
Taylor Amendola.
Emma and Taylor, they were really great. They were able to show us the ropes of tennis and the athletics at Salve, but also in school extracurriculars and just everything that they participated in. So they were able to show us how they did Salve. So it helped us be able to do Salve on our own. and discover all the things that we would like about it.
I also think that being on campus earlier was also an advantage because the captains showed us where all the buildings were, how to get to places, and we also established a friend group already, meeting each other, so I thought that was very helpful.
It's nice having that preseason.
I actually had a unique experience. I wasn't on the team my freshman year. I walked on as a sophomore. And I think really that like being on the tennis team as sophomore year, I saw the difference between like coming in, knowing friends and stuff. It was tough not having a team, like automatic friends, you know?
Yeah, it makes a difference, especially with it being a fall sport, being able to come in and having that connection. Do you wish you had come in as a freshman to play the sport, or?
I think looking back on it now, I do wish I had. I think at the time I was worried that like it'd be too much to handle, sports, school, all like new friends, new everything. But looking back on it, I really wish I had, because I just really love the team, the atmosphere, like just the people and everything, and like the ability to play tennis, which I love. So it's nice.
Yes. So tennis didn't just start when you arrived at college. You guys have been playing beforehand. Tell me how you got involved in this great sport.
I guess I'll start. So for me, I started playing like when I was 5 in Haiti. So we had a court at our house, and my dad was obsessed with the game. So he used to play every day before going to school, before us going to school and him going to work. And he used to force us to play tennis before going to school, like at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. So that's how I got into tennis. But I started loving tennis like when I moved to America, because like I played competitive tennis, so I was able to play tournaments and stuff. So like I fell in love with like the competitive side of tennis and like all that came with it, like clinics, privates, and everything.
So you said thank you, Dad, after that.
So I started playing tennis my freshman year of high school because prior to that I was mainly focused on Irish dancing my whole life since I was 4 years old. And then in high school I decided that I wanted to start up some sports. So I randomly chose tennis, and I couldn't believe how much I loved it that first year. I became so passionate about it that I continued all 4 years and then became senior captain that year of my high school team. And then I knew that I wanted to take that same activity and bring it into my college experience, and knew that it would make it so much better. And I went for it, and it worked out really great.
Nice.
And I started playing, I think, around like age 6 or 7. And I really started because my whole family did it. And it was like something we could do together, which was really fun. I was able to play like doubles between like my sister and I and like my parents, which was really fun. So that was really cool.
Awesome. Shaylin, I want to go back to you on the dance. You said you wanted to do something sports. Irish step dancing is very athletic. So tell me how that helped you actually jump right into competing on a tennis court.
I was very well known for footwork in high school. They knew right away that I had fancy footwork with all the toe drills. And then I also think that it really helps with stamina, because in Irish dance at competitions, one dance in itself could be up to like 3 minutes. And that's cardio, really intense for that long duration. So I felt like on the court I had great stamina for that reason.
The three of you have served as tennis captains as seniors while welcoming in a new head coach, Adam Zakara. Talk about the transition from junior to senior year and then becoming the leaders on the team.
At first, it was definitely like a little bit scary, not gonna lie, because like we were gonna first be captains for the first time at Salve, then also like welcoming a new coach. It was definitely like scary at first, but from my personal opinion, I think us and coach kind of like helped each other, kind of like maneuver the team along the year.
I was also a little nervous because going into senior year, we were so used to Coach Pete for those 3 years. And then I was wondering, I wonder how this year is going to go. But I thought that Coach Adam did a phenomenal job. He came in with a plan. He knew what he wanted to do. And he really took us under his wing and supported us. And I feel like we were very open and accepting towards him. And then I just feel like the team had a really great atmosphere this year because of it.
Yeah, I think it was lucky that we were able to, meet Adam through the spring season when he was an assistant coach, which definitely helped like for us to build a relationship with him, which made the transition smoother. And also I think being seniors and like having our past captains were captains for the previous 2 years. There was finally like a change, which they were great captains, but like every year you do need a change, I think. So it was cool to be able to like facilitate that change, I think.
Who has been some of your leadership role models that you want to say, you know what, I remember this experience way back when, or as recently as a year ago. That's something that I want to emulate, and also that's something that I don't want to emulate. So give me an example of both positives and negatives in a leadership sense.
For me, it was definitely, like, again, Emma Gruber, our freshman year captain, when we were freshmen. She, like, the way that she was as a senior, I'm like, when I'm a senior, I want to be exactly the same way she was. Like, she was involved in everything. She was involved in everything, but, like, she was not overwhelmed. Like, she knew what she wanted to do, and she was just participating because she loved it. And she was also able to, like, maintain a good team, like, while doing that. And, like, that was a positive influence for me.
I think a positive influence for me would actually be one of our freshmen, Casey Farrell. I think that she plays with such a great mindset that it gets into the other players' heads. And I think it's really important to keep a positive attitude, because when you get that negativity, I feel like it really affects your game. So that inspires me a lot, especially coming from a younger person too.
Yeah, I think because, like, going off of what Shay said, that, like, since tennis is technically an individual sport for the most part, you don't necessarily have to have a team dynamic, but having one that we have is really beneficial for everyone, both on their games and also just on, like, a personal level too. So any leader that is able to help promote, like, team bonding, just having fun together, I think that's really important.
You talked about how you started playing tennis. Was there ever video games involved that helped you stay sharp in your game when you couldn't get outside on the tennis courts, or you couldn't go to an indoor tennis facility? Well, was Wii tennis ever an option?
I was never good at Wii tennis, like, never. And I thought it was hilarious because every single person who I knew who did not play tennis and was not good at tennis was extremely good at Wii tennis. I sucked.
So I have played Wii tennis in the past, and I definitely think it's a different game from playing in real life. I feel like when you go to swing on the Wii, you want to do, like, a full swing, but then there's a shorter reaction time. Then before you know it, the opponent on the other side is throwing the ball at you, and it's a little different.
Yeah, I don't know if Wii is necessarily helpful in practicing. I'm a psychology major though, and I've heard studies about if you're able to, like, watch, just like watching videos of people playing tennis, whether it be an actual tournament or just like practice videos online, it can be really beneficial, like, just by I think mirror neurons, to be technical, but it's like basically that it targets the same things that, like, actually playing would do.
Yeah, and from a tennis perspective, or any individual sport, Lily, psychology is probably the most important part. It is 100% a mental game.
Mm-hmm.
So 100%. You know, the physical part is there, right? You can condition that, but you can overcome any physical deficiencies with a positive mental game. Correct?
Definitely.
I have so many examples of this in the game. Like, it's crazy. Like, because I used to play USC competitive matches, and the people who were ranked number 1 in New England, they were the people who had the strongest mental games. Because when you face them in the court, not that they weren't great players, but most of them, the reason why they were winning so much is because they played into your game. And they made you question every single thing. Yeah.
On that note, professionally speaking, what players at the professional level, male or female, have been role models for you in that sense that, A, from their physical attributes that they can execute on the court, or from their mental approach to the game?
For me personally, when I grew up, it was Kim Clijsters, because when I started, like, actually getting into the game, Serena wasn't there yet, but eventually it became like her and Serena. But for Kim Clijsters, I really like admired her, and she was my favorite tennis player ever, just because she was able to overcome the fact that like people didn't think she would come back. I think the underdog perspective of it all, I think that's why I admired about her, and her game too. I think it was similar to mine a little bit, and Serena for that same reason.
I think that I've always looked up to Roger Federer out of all of them. I love watching his net game. I loved watching him play Wimbledon over the summer, and he attacks those balls at the net. And I personally, that's a part of my game that I felt was weak for me, and I wanted to improve on that. So I always loved watching his videos.
Yeah, and for myself, I mean, I here and there will follow professional tennis, but I think, would really look up to like older players on my team. Like in high school, I had my older sister who was 3 years older than me, who was just like a powerhouse, and trying to follow in her footsteps really helped.
That's awesome. Love that. And now, Coach Zakara may have told you this already, and what I would tell my first group of men's players when I started coaching in 1992, and he was on that team, tennis is a game of control, not power. When you can master the control of it, then you add the power to it. Do you feel that same way?
Yeah, when I was like in middle school or whatever, I did not have any power in my game, because that's not how I was, like I could not, there was no power to my game at all, because I was still like learning the fundamentals and stuff. So like when I was able to add that power, it just like was a perfect combination. So I definitely would agree that like control is most important, because it definitely like gave me fundamentals to my skills.
Excellent.
I think that those control shots definitely bring together your game, because you'll always remember the great powerful ones you had, and then also the shots that you completely missed. But it's those ones in the middle, those control shots, that really sum up your game.
I think personally also I don't have much power still, and I think I really rely on just consistency and like going slow and steady, not making mistakes. That's what gets me through it at least. So.
Love it. Let's talk about how you guys have worked together as teammates in an individual sport.
I think a lot of that really comes down to our preseason, because I mean it's really tough being in tennis. You're really competing against each other to figure out the lineup, who's going to play, who's not, at what spot, everything like that. So I think we, especially this year, tried to really foster a sense of community. We had like a big little kind of partnership going on, just to motivate each other, encourage each other, and just like be really loving and caring about each other. So we're close friends on and off the court.
I definitely agree. I think that the communication this year was a lot better, and that we all understood each other a little more, and we were able to cheer for one another. And I noticed that a lot of the times at our matches, we'd actually be watching each other's games, and when you come off, a few teammates would come up to me and tell me what they thought that I could do better, what I did really good, and I thought that was very helpful.
It's definitely hard. Like it's definitely hard, because like we all have individual games, individual personalities, every individual things that we need to work on. But generally, like we all just want to give like our best, and I feel like just like all of us just empowering ourselves, like encouraging each other, and just like, because sometimes as much as like the lineup like it counts, and it comes to be personal, you kind of like have to put that aside a little bit, because at the end of the day, yes, like who's number one, number two, number three, like it matters, but at the end of the day, like it's whether or not we're making that winning percentage or not. So like, yeah, encouraging each other and just like putting aside like our personal egos, I guess, for the benefit of the team.
Well, Priscilla, Shaylin, and Lily, 4 years of tennis at the collegiate level. Tell me, what stands out from a competitive standpoint? One match, 1 point, one event.
One match was, I guess winning my first college match was like a big remember point for me, because I was down the first set, like I lost the first set completely, and then I just came back, and then I was able to win the whole game in 3 sets. I think that was very memorable, and like finally like winning the first match, it was just like, well, okay, I can do this.
I think for me, my favorite match was from this year. I was playing one doubles with Lauren, and it was the first time we've ever played together, or I played that position, so I was super nervous going into that situation. But it was against one of the hardest teams in the conference, and I remember we got a few games, and I was so surprised with myself, and I was really proud of how that went, so it's always been in my head.
Maybe our senior match of this year was really impactful for me because we were able to kind of be recognized by our teammates. We got some presents and everything. And also, like, both my parents were able to come, which is really nice to have them see me play, like, one last time. So it was really awesome.
What can you say to others who are going to be playing the sport in the future at Salve, and perhaps coaching is in your future as well? What would you say to future tennis players at Salve Regina?
I would tell them to take each point at a time, because that comes with a huge mental game. You don't want to be thinking about the past point you just missed a shot. It's about what you're going to do with that and bring it to the next point.
I would say also kind of like along the same lines to like not, because sometimes like you're obviously a student athlete and you go into the game and you have all this other thing in your mind, and then sometimes you let it affect your game at the beginning of the match. And that it's okay. I would say that it's okay for it to affect you for a little bit, but then try to like find some sort of like point where you're like, okay, I need to turn this around. I'm on the court. Like I need to like play my best, or else I regret it. Like kind of like having a way to shut out like the actual world to just be in the game, because like you're playing tennis because you love the game. That's why you're playing college tennis, and like if you miss that opportunity, you'll regret it.
And I think it's also really important to remember that, like you said, the score is often not at all indicative of how you played or how you felt, or like just your effort on the court. Because like you said, you can totally lose a game 6-love, but you had no idea that every single game went to deuce, you know? So it really can go either way, whether it's you're on the winning side or the losing side. You have to just think of your own experience rather than what the score sheet says.
Let me ask you, what are your plans for beyond graduation?
So with like the pandemic and everything is a little bit like stopped like and progress, but I'm planning on moving to New York or DC for a year and then going into law school.
So I am currently studying for finals and for taking the NCLEX exam to get my nursing license. And then once I get that, I'll start working. I actually just accepted a job offer at Hartford Hospital in Connecticut. That's my plan.
And I, similar to Priscilla, I'm planning to take a year, maybe two, to get a like full-time job. I'm hoping to go into psychological research and eventually get into grad school, hopefully get my PhD in developmental psychology.
Well, Priscilla, Shaylin, and Lily, I wish you many years of happy tennis on the courts and success in your careers as individuals. You'll be proud Salve graduates. We're proud of you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
That's Priscilla Gaspard, Shaylin Fitzpatrick, and Lily Gorman. I'm Ed Habishaw. We'll be back with our final guest right after this break. Well, hello and welcome back to Seahawk Talk. We are back live, by the way, just in case you had any questions. 2 of our 4 segments today were pre-recorded. One was a month ago, and the most recent one with our women's tennis team was as recently as last night. And similarly to women's tennis, I have now 3 captains from our women's track and field team. Welcome, Katie, Madison, and Olivia. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Really appreciate this last minute addition to our program. Typically at 3:45, I'm joined by your head coach, Matthew Hurd, and he's a wonderful guest. But wow, multiply that times 3 now, and we get the 3 captains from the Seahawk women's track and field team. Now, in Q, I'm letting you know how devastated I felt for you guys that you do all this training and preparation leading up to your season, and then you end up not having any competition with your season. Of all of our sports, our 20 varsity sports, you were the one program that didn't get to go out at least once and showcase what you did all that training for. Okay, having said that, what are your thoughts?
It's pretty devastating, honestly. Especially being seniors. It's, you work 4 years with all your teammates and your coaches. It's kind of like the culmination of your athletic experience, your last year of college. So, yeah, it's pretty disappointing, especially considering the few amount of meets that we have in this season as it is.
Yeah, it was definitely very bitter at first for me. It took me a little while to get over it, move on, but I think like one of the hardest parts was we didn't really get a chance to like say goodbye to each other. It's kind of just all done, and that training, we were training up until the day we found out, so it was kind of hard to just walk away and know like that was our last practice, guys.
And how about you, Olivia?
Yeah, it was pretty sad. I mean, I do cross country too, so I was really glad I had that season to like kind of hold on to, and like that helped me with like mourning losing track. So
yeah,
like our last practice, we didn't even know that it was our last practice because the decision was definite at the point, so we didn't even know that was going to be our last time together.
You just never know. So it does teach us a lesson to always be prepared and treat each day like it could be our last to do whatever. This is something that you love to do. And when I talked with our women's tennis guests in the recorded interview last night, I asked them, what is it like for you guys as a group of teammates, senior captains, to be in leadership roles of a sport that has individual output? How do you approach your roles as captains?
It's kind of difficult, extra into knowing each person individually, because obviously like Olivia is very close with the distance runners and is very close with the sprinters and jumpers, and me with the throwers. But as a captain, you obviously want to make sure that you know everyone and that everyone feels comfortable talking to you. You just got to make sure that you reach out to each person individually.
Yeah, you kind of just have to like pull like bits and pieces from each. Like usually when we go down and before practice to start, we all meet up and like we say hi to each other, and then you notice like the groups start to mingle and then we all break off. So like that's our time right there to like try to catch up with each other. But it's definitely different because you have your, like Olivia has her own specialty, and so doesn't Katie. And it's hard to like get us all together, but meets definitely helped that. So it was kind of sad not to have those.
yeah, and we usually do like pasta dinners the night before a meet, and that's always like helpful because you can like see the 3 groups kind of mingling, and like we get all like comfortable by the end with each other, which is nice.
So in contrast to tennis, where the players are really beating each other up to determine the lineup, you guys are nothing but supportive of each other because that's just going to help the team.
Mm-hmm.
It's even better in meets because like those are the times that we're actually all together all day for like
9+ hours sometimes, and you get to you're not competing, which is great. So you get to hop around and see everyone else.
And I've been to some of those meets in the past, and I have a joy just bouncing around from event to event. Do you get to see as many events from your other teammates as you are with the ones in your specialty?
I'm usually bouncing around all day, so I always try to check in, and if I know a friend, I'm close to someone who's like a thrower, I'll be like, oh, how did this person do? How did this person do? To stay up to date and check in with Matt and stuff. And I definitely love to see more, but when it comes down to it, as long as we all know that each other is trying to help the team out, it's all for the best.
Unfortunately for the throwers, usually the throwing facilities are
separate,
way off land, and so sometimes you can see the track from there, and sometimes you can't. It depends. We like it when we're closer to the track.
Yeah, we've got to be careful with those throwers. They're dangerous people. They throw things at you.
Sometimes we're really far off, which is unfortunate because we kind of set up our camp. But if we could see the track, we watch them, we cheer them on. Then at the end, everyone gets together and we cheer on the last 4x4.
And when Olivia runs her races, you've got plenty of time to get up there and say, oh, when did she start? Okay, I've got some time, because how many laps do you got to go around, Olivia?
25 laps.
Oh, my. Is there a counter in your head? Or what goes on for those distance runners?
I don't know. I usually just try to think about the race itself, who's in it, who can I catch up to, who can I pass, try to be engaged. And then my mom usually holds a notebook, count my laps. That's really helpful.
Well, that's awesome. And you've all attained great marks in your events. And like you were saying earlier, the relays. Madison, talk about the relays. Where are you traditionally on the leg of a relay, and how critical is that? And would you rather be somewhere else on the relay?
Well, for 4x1, I'm usually last, which is a lot of pressure there, but it's fun because the whole team is usually lined up on that side, so it's a lot of motivation. And then 4x4, I'd like to be second. It changes sometimes, but that's definitely the most fun because the meet usually comes down to that, and everybody gets together, and there's a lot of energy. It's definitely a lot of fun, and in CCCs, it's always fun to see what plays out and stuff. So.
And from a teamwork perspective, that's something that you do have to practice with teammates. Talk about the different persons you've had to receive from and deliver to over the course of your 4 years.
Most of my time at Salve, I was getting it from Natalie Kopiak, which was always fun. She was too much. Then I think Aaron Gunther sometimes from the 4x4, and I think I handed off a few times to Maggie McCarthy, which was always fun. And it definitely brings us all together, have that group of 4, and it takes the stress off a little bit of each event to have 4 of you there to split up what's going to happen.
And it puts a smile on Coach Hurd's face when he sees you competing, because he doesn't worry about the results. He worries about how you guys feel about your competition. And what a great coach he has been for you for your 4 years, and obviously would have been for this year. What are your thoughts on Coach Hurd?
He's unlike any other person. But honestly, just through him, you can feel the passion that he has for all sports, really, but for track and field especially. Bests in us, not just as acts, but as individuals. And he's so supportive in every aspect, and he's so high energy all the time, which is great for those days where you're feeling tired or you're feeling sore. Great American.
You're borrowing his words there, Katie.
I know.
Well, academically, we've got a pair of nursing majors and administration of justice. Let's start with nursing. Katie and Olivia, thank you for getting on today's program live after a full day of NCLEX. Tell me about NCLEX.
Olivia, you want to take this one?
So after we graduate, we have to pass the NCLEX test. So it was just like preparing us for that so that we can come out as RNs and work.
Yeah, we have 3 full days of review for our board exams this week. So intense.
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we were able to squeeze you in here on the middle day of those 3 days. Let me be preemptive and congratulate you, by the way. You're going to graduate. I can guarantee it. You're going to pass those NCLEX. And Madison Stanley, what is your direction after your final relay race? You're an administration of justice major.
Well, right now I'm in the grad program at Salve for the 5th year. So I definitely want to finish that up by the end of fall. And I'm going to be working in Middletown at the Warfare Center. So it's fun to stay down near Newport.
Well, congratulations to you too as well. Ladies, thank you for joining me on this segment. I don't want you to leave just yet, but let me sign off for the live program, and then I'll be right back with you. Stay and hold. It's almost like a track and field event. Just wait. But thank you to Katie, Madison, and Olivia. We'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My name's Ed Havishar. Thanks for joining us on today's program of Cinco de Mayo, Seahawk Talk. We'll be back tomorrow with another group of guests, including Olivia Owens' cross-country head coach, Rob McGinnis. See you tomorrow.
Better keep your attitude.